All right, guys, after you check out this video, please make sure you watch this week's episode of 5 Formations. Rio sits down with Culture Cams and he talks him through how Man United ended Arsenal's invincible record. I'll tell you what, it's not happening this Sunday, but it's a good video.
You've got Rooney slotting around these areas and you've got Van Nistelrooy always on the shoulder like that. And he'd say, listen, I'm going to come in and he'll come with you all the time.
Yeah.
Lauren, let him come in and then there's the spaces in behind and getting behind the full-back, in between the centre-half.
We are back on 5 Reacts with the one and only Mr. Julian Laurens. How you doing, Julian?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me on again, man.
Thank you for coming on, and thank you to ESPN as well. It's always a pleasure. I really enjoyed sitting down with you last time and going through the vids. Amazing reception. People were really happy to have you on. And yes, let's get going. Okay, so I want to focus on, it's obviously transfer deadline. I know things can change over the next 24 hours, but as it stands, this is what's coming out, and these are the changes that might happen or have already happened. I'll start off with Ronaldo. He's staying at Manchester United. Cristiano, why? Why did he decide to stay? Was it because no one wanted him? Is it because he had a change of heart after speaking to Ten Hag, which I doubt? Can you give us the inside information that you've got, please?
Yes, of course. The inside information that I've got is that he didn't change his mind. He wanted to leave. He wanted to go and play in the Champions League, in another club around Europe. Jorge Mendes, his agent, has tried many clubs, different structure, different options, coming back to certain clubs who'd already said no, like a Chelsea, for example, like a Napoli. But in the end, either they ran out of time or there was really nothing that other clubs could see in Cristiano to say, okay, let's take him away from Manchester United. Maybe at 37, despite the fact that he's the greatest finisher and goal scorer that probably the game has ever seen, maybe now there's a lot of managers and clubs who thought maybe this is not a good idea. Maybe he's going to disrupt the way we play or what we've built so far more than actually he will help us with his goals. There's others, maybe like Sporting. Sporting would have been a fairy tale in a way, finishing his European career where he all started 20 years ago. But Ruben Amorim, the manager there, was like, okay, I love Cristiano, but it doesn't really fit in what I'm trying to do here. And he's been really successful at Sporting. So I think it was a case of maybe after what he showed in the last 2 seasons, a few clubs were not too keen. Maybe the fact that it was going to be difficult as well to negotiate and deal with Manchester United, with Jorge Mendes. All of that made that a few clubs said, you know what, maybe we're going to pass on this one.
Despite scoring 24 goals last season. Wow. That's a bit tricky. I want to look forward to Arsenal Football Club. I don't know if you know, Julien, but they're actually top of the table at the moment. 5 wins out of 5. Excellent stuff by the boys. It looks like there's a late move for Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa. Can you let us know if that is actually going to happen? Or because obviously he's a central type midfielder. Obviously, we know that there's the injuries to Partey, and we need cover in that position. Will that be happening? Yes or no? Or should we still have our fingers crossed for Tielemans?
As we're recording this, Joe, it's like 1:30. I believe I was told that between the player and Arsenal, everything has been agreed. The contract is ready. Now it's between the two clubs, Aston Villa and Arsenal, to negotiate a deal, a transfer fee. The thing is, Aston Villa don't want to let him go, despite him only having 1 year left on his contract. So technically, he will be free on January to sign anywhere he wants for nothing. Villa will get nothing if he leaves next summer. So you would think that maybe they'd be more willing to let him go, but they're not at the moment. So the two clubs will have to find the right valuation. Villa might ask more money than what Arsenal are ready to pay for someone that they've been following for quite a while. I remember 6 months ago, I think, writing for ESPN that he was on the radar. Arteta likes him a lot for a few reasons. One, he's only 24 years old, so he fits perfectly in the edge bracket that Arsenal are aiming for right now. 2 is that there's that kind of versatility in midfield. Yeah, he can play as a holding midfielder, and I think that's his best position in the midfield 3. But a double pivot is fine. I think he can play even higher up because he's so good. He's so good technically with the ball. He can shield the ball well. He keeps it. He can play vertically as well. There's no problem. He's very good on set pieces, which is something very important now at Arsenal with Nicolas Jover, the French set piece coach. Having someone like him so good on taking those set pieces could be very valuable for Arsenal, seeing how good they are on set pieces. So it ticks a lot of the boxes. It might be a little bit late in the window. That's my fear. So they might run out of time and not be able to do it because it's too short now between now and the end of the transfer window. But they're certainly going for it, and I think there's also some optimism that they can do it.
I thought he was linked with Liverpool. What happened to that?
Yeah, he was. That's right. I think there's maybe more of a kind of a starting role, more of a game time option for Arsenal. I don't think that Liverpool actually pushed it too much, like to the point that making an offer to Villa, discussing contract and personal agreement with the player either. I think he was maybe on their list, and they clearly decided to go in another direction in Arthur Melo. But I think if Arthur maybe had not worked, I believe Douglas Costa was certainly on the short list at Liverpool. They just went in another direction.
So Arthur Melo is confirmed from Juventus to Liverpool. Loan.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm hearing now in the last few minutes. It's a loan with no option to buy, no obligation to buy, no option to buy, which again is different to Douglas Luiz. That would not have been possible with Villa and Douglas Luiz. If Liverpool only wanted a loan option, Douglas Luiz didn't really fit that because he only has 1 year left on his contract, as we explained before. For Arthur, it's very different. You can take him on loan. If you're happy with him in 6 months' time, you can maybe then negotiate with Juventus to sign him permanently and find an agreement. But right now, Liverpool, I think, wanted a body. And he's coming there as a sub. He's not be a starter unless everybody is injured. But I think Klopp wanted just another option, someone who is there, who can play, of course. Although Arthur has had a pretty torrid time at Juventus, really, since moving from Barcelona, hasn't played much, has been injured. I don't think he's got the intensity in him to be able to play consistently in the Premier League with a team like Liverpool. I don't think he's got that kind of running game in him, for example. But to keep the ball, to have that kind of possession-based game, I think he can help you now and again. But again, he's not a game changer for me. They needed a body. That's why they went to get him on loan. Hardly cost them anything. And then he's going back to Juventus in the summer.
Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang moving from Barcelona to Chelsea. Will this happen? Will it not happen? There's been a lot of back and forths. Obviously, I'm dreading it, but it's not about me at the moment. It's about the news. Will it be happening? Yes or no?
I think it's a yes now. I was told in the last few minutes before we came on air that the two clubs have finally found an agreement, or almost an agreement, if you want, for the move for Aubameyang after talking for a good 2 weeks to try to find the right structure that would please everyone. And I believe now this is the case. We're talking about around 16 million euros plus Marcos Alonso going from Chelsea to Barcelona. Barcelona really wanted him to have another option at left back with Jordi Alba, whose future, by the way, at Barcelona is not too clear right now. And Aubameyang,
AC Milan.
Yeah, that's a possibility as well. I think I'm not really sure, to be fair, why Xavi doesn't fancy Jordi Alba anymore. If it's maybe Jordi Alba pushing for a move to see something a little bit different. But Marcos Alonso then became even more important for Barcelona if Jordi Alba was to go. So now everybody's happy and everybody's win, really. Aubameyang wanted to leave Barcelona, especially after the horrible attack that he suffered at home last week. He wanted to come back to England and play with Thomas Tuchel, play for Chelsea. So that's good. Chelsea needed a striker. Whether that was Aubameyang or someone else, you could clearly see that they were too light up front with Sterling and with Kai Havertz, who's not really a number 9, and neither is Sterling. So that makes sense. And then, Barca gets Marcos Alonso. They get a bit of money to make sure that Jules Koundé is registered and that Marcos Alonso is also registered, considering all the financial problems that they have, and we discussed in our last video together. So this one makes everybody happy. I just don't understand why he's just done today and he was not done last week or even 2 weeks ago, considering everybody wanted this move. I mean, from a Barcelona point of view as well, just to finish, so 16 million, so 1.6 for Aubameyang, considering they got him back in January for nothing, cost them nothing. Yeah, okay, wages, but that's it. That he was quite prolific for them with the 13 goals, both in Europe and also in the league, to make sure that they sort of cemented and make sure that they finish in that top 4. He did the job I think they wanted from him back in January for the second half of the season. Then Lewandowski is another level. And on top, you get 16 million back and Marcos Alonso. I mean, for Barca, I think this is a hell of a deal.
Yeah, very well done by Barcelona. Wilfried Zaha fails to leave Crystal Palace as it stands. Could this change by tonight? Because at one point he looked like he was linked to Chelsea, and then at some point I know there was a bit of interest from Arsenal a couple of days ago. But will he be staying at Crystal Palace again?
So right now he's staying, but it's clearly one of those deals that can move very quickly in the sense that he's out of contract in the summer. So again, if Crystal Palace want to keep him, they can. They might hope that he signs an extension and stay for longer, but there's also a possibility that he doesn't sign an extension, which means that they will get nothing for him next summer. So you're thinking like he's been trying to leave, let's be honest here, as much as he loves that club, that means a lot to him clearly, but he's also been trying to leave for the last 3 summers now. He was very close, remember, of Arsenal when they signed Nicolas Pepe instead under Unai Emery. And I think he's been trying every time. I don't understand why not a bigger club has come for him. Even, I'm not just talking top 6 clubs, but even below that, I don't know, a team like Everton, you know, those kind of teams, a team like Newcastle, for example, he would be great for them. And I was told that a few days ago, they kind of inquired about Wilfried Zaha, who could play maybe on the right-hand side for them, with Sam Maximin on the left-hand side and Alexander Isak in the middle. So this is a deal that could be done very quickly, I believe, because he only has 1 year left on his contract. But right now, it looks like he's going to stay maybe until January, maybe for the whole season.
Someone else who looks like they might be staying, Bernardo Silva. You know, he was linked with the move to Barcelona. I was crying. He's one of my favorite players in the league, but there seems to be a statement that's come out to say that, you know, it was false rumors. He hasn't been contacted by a Spanish club and he is staying at Manchester City this season.
Yes, he is for sure, which I think is great news if you're a City fan and if you're Pep Guardiola and the rest of the club and the squad, because as we saw again on Wednesday night against Nottingham Forest, he's outstanding for them. He's such a key part in everything they do, with the ball, without the ball, whether you play him with Rodri in midfield or you play Gundogan and he can play a bit higher up on the right, on the left. He's so versatile. He can play anywhere. And that's why we love him so much. I remember the game at Old Trafford last season against United where he played as a false 9, false 8, false 6, false anything you wanted. He's that incredible.
Tremendous.
The fact is, there was no offers. Yeah, he was contacted by Barcelona. I think him and his agent and Barcelona talked and agreed a contract in principle, but Barcelona in the end never made an offer to City for Bernardo Silva. PSG never made an offer either, like a proper black and white on the paper offer for him. So City didn't even have, there was no dilemma. It was either we take the 70 or 50 or 60 million or we keep him, because the offer was never on the table. So it makes sense. He might revisit it next summer, I'm sure, because I think there's a point where he would want to see something a bit different, especially if he's also, again, very successful with City. But right now he's staying, and I think that boosts their chances massively to obviously win again the Premier League and also to do really well in the Champions League, because with Bernardo Silva, they are a much better team than without him.
Phenomenal player. Julian, finally, I want to see if you can provide us some tips. Are there any transfers that we haven't discussed today that you go, you know what, Joel, watch out for this one. This will be a really good one, or the club has done really well?
Yeah, so there's one or two that like that on the top of my mind. I think Usamawa, the Lyon midfielder, so talented that in the past was linked with Arsenal or Manchester City and didn't really get that big move. He's got 1 year left on his contract at Lyon. Lyon now wanted to let him go. They thought they can keep him, but I believe, and I was told, there's a few English clubs like Fulham, for example, who could try to move in and make that deal very quickly happen between now and the end of transfer deadline day today. There might be other clubs who could be keen as well, who could try to be moving for him. There's someone that you know really well in Hector Bellerin, whose contract is about to be terminated with Arsenal, and then I believe will go to Barcelona as well, which I think a lot of Arsenal fans would be a bit sad because he arrived so young at the club.
I'm not sad.
Yeah,
I'm not sad.
You're not sad, okay. But I think some will be, although maybe like you, some realize that he was maybe not good enough for Arsenal and what Mikel Arteta are trying to do, but he seems good enough for Barcelona maybe, and to go back home. So this one is another interesting one. I expect Newcastle, Joe, to maybe try again for this right winger that we mentioned, whether that's Zaha, whether they go back for someone like Pulisic, but they're going to try to find, or maybe Moussa Diaby at Bayer Leverkusen as well, who's someone that they pushed for through the summer, is another possibility. I think they're still looking on the market for that, and I guess maybe if Aston Villa let Douglas Luiz go, I think they should have a replacement somewhere lined up, because I think it would be a big loss, and I think Steven Gerrard needs another midfielder if Douglas Luiz goes. So there's a few clubs still I think, ready and looking at doing more deals.
Julian, thank you so much for your time. It's a pleasure having you part of the 5 team. Thank you very much, ESPN, for allowing Julian to come on. Please make sure you follow Julian on his socials, Instagram, Twitter. He's always got the best updates there as well. So the links are in the description. Please give him a follow and give him a comment about this video. It's a pleasure having you on, Julian. Thank you.
Thank you very much, man.
Cheers. Joel Beya, signing out. 5.
We didn't want this team to continue going on doing what they were doing. They were dominating. Confidence was sky high, and the manager before the game, I remember him saying, "Listen, you go and meet them physically. You go and fight this team. You can antagonize them. They don't like it when you go and fight them."